Nice, 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 nice. Good morning. Grace to you, peace to you, welcome to you. And I call your attention to announcements. Take a look at what's going on here in the church. You'll see that in the what's called the nuggets. And I encourage you to continue to lift up in prayer the work of our congregation and the leadership of our congregation. And those who are visiting with us, I want to extend a special welcome to you, and I'll let you know that we will be having some coffee and a light coffee chat over in the other building, and hope that you can join us for that. So take a deep breath. I'm glad that you are here. This evening, it is this evening, is the Advent calming service. And so, you know, if you need to take multiple deep breaths at this time of year, this would be a great service for you to attend. It is here. It will be in this space up here. It will be rearranged and be a time for prayer and music and quiet. And again, to catch your breath literally and metaphorically and spiritually. So please feel free to attend that. Are there other announcements? I didn't put all the announcements together. I'm looking to the staff. Anything? Yes. Our hospitality meeting, that is our whole lives comprehensive human sexuality curriculum meeting during coffee chat. And so that's right after the service, and people are invited to attend that to learn more and to figure out ways to volunteer so as to keep that up. Also, if you would like to have a poinsettia to help decorate, to celebrate an event or a person or to honor a memory, those are forms that are there. Please fill those out. And then, of course, Jean McWhorter is holding up our Advent offering envelopes, and so that is always helpful as well. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, friend. All right. All right. Well, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. And that is the core of who we are, and sometimes we get it right. But we always strive to do the right thing. So welcome. All right. You have another piece of music for us. Good. There came a man who was sent from God. His name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all people might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to every person was coming into the world.
In the lonely places, the wilderness, where we stand forlorn, windswept and alone, the voice of prophets call out,
Prepare a way for the Lord.
Spirit of life, in the dark places, in the shadows where we hide our fears,
Embrace our tears as our voices call out, Prepare a way for the Lord.
for the desert places in which we walk, the paths we cross.
Guide our feet.
Take us to places where you would go.
Give us words that you would use.
Shape our hope in this Advent season of promise and preparation.
We want to point the way with John the Baptist to the light of the world.
For thousands of years we sing of your coming.
Come, thou long-expected Jesus, born to set thy people free.
Please rise as you're comfortably able. Come, thou long expected Jesus, born to set thy people free. From our fears and sins release us, let us find our rest in thee. Israel's strength and consolation, hope of all the earth thou art, dear desire of every nation, joy of every longing heart. Born thy people to deliver, born a child and yet a king, born to reign in us forever. Now thy gracious kingdom bring, by thine own eternal Spirit, rule in all our hearts alone. By thine all-sufficient merit, raise us to thy glorious throne. Please be seated.
I ask that you would let me pray with you. Let's pray. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, mystery, beyond our language and beyond our thoughts. And yet we must turn to each other and to someone greater than ourselves. You know what it is we bring this morning. What's on our hearts and what is on our minds. Ways in which we may be distracted and burdened. The ways that our spirits are leaning toward a hope and a way and a place to be lighter, to be more free, to truly be light in the world. And so we do this strange thing where once a week we come together and we sing and we pray, we hold hands, and we dare to dream. So, we lay on this altar our cynicism, our despair. For some of us, it's hard for us to give up our sarcasm. But we give it all. So hear our prayer. Meet our need, and may we be light to one another. May all the people say, amen. One of the things that we see happening around here is that we'll see people who will volunteer for a long time doing a specific job here around the church. And then they'll take a deep breath and they'll step back because they think it's time for them to do so. And yet they don't disconnect completely, and they still will step up and help out when needed. And so we celebrated DC's long time service on the sound team, and he took a deep breath and he stepped back, and yet here he is this morning. He's still doing it. So all right. In other words, you can run, but you will not get away. Okay, all right. Well, a fairly long time ago, Peg and I we weren't married for very long, and we decided to go camping. You remember that? Yeah, okay. And after a good dinner and a bottle of wine, we retired for the night, and we went to sleep. And some hours later, Peg wakes up, and she nudges me. She says, "Ken, look up at the sky and tell me what you see." "I see millions and millions of stars." "And Mr. Philosophy Major, what do you deduce from that?" I love it when she called me Mr. Philosophy Major. I said, "Well, astronomically, it tells me that there are millions of galaxies and potentially billions of planets. Astrologically, I observe that Saturn is in Leo. Horologically, I deduce that the time is approximately 3:15 in the morning. Meteorologically, I suspect we'll have a beautiful day tomorrow. Theologically, I can see that God is all-powerful and that we are a small and insignificant part of the universe. What does it tell you, Peg?"
That you were with a different wife.
Yeah. All right. And in a rare moment, Peg is quiet. And then she says, "Ken, as brilliant as you are, you missed the obvious. Someone has stolen our tent." You don't remember it that way. You don't. All right. Indeed, on a clear night, we can see thousands of stars. And we were reminded this past week as we honored the life and service of George H.W. Bush that he had a vision of a kinder and gentler nation. And when we look with eyes of hope and with hearts of trust in the goodness of life, we will see, quote, a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky, unquote. The term 1,000 points of light was used by George H.W. Bush in his speech accepting the presidential nomination at the 1988 Republican National Convention in New Orleans. Written for Bush by Peggy Noonan and Craig Smith, the address likened America's clubs and volunteer organizations to a brilliant diversity spread like stars, like 1,000 points of light in a broad and peaceful sky. Bush reprised the phrase near the end of his speech, affirming that he would keep America moving forward, always forward, for a better America, for an endless, enduring dream, and again, 1,000 points of light. He repeated the phrase in his inaugural address on January 20th, 1989. Again, I quote, "I have spoken of 1,000 points of light of all the community organizations that are spread like stars throughout the nation doing good. We will work hand in hand, encouraging, sometimes leading, sometimes being led, rewarding. We will work on this in the White House, in the cabinet agencies. I will go to the people and the programs that are the brighter points of light, and I will ask every member of my government to become involved. The old ideas are new again because they are not old. They are timeless. Duty, sacrifice, commitment, and a patriotism that finds its expression in taking part and pitching in." We are reminded, and reminded in this Advent season, a season of lights. And during Hanukkah, season of lights, that there are many kinds of light. There is the light that allows people to see in the darkness. There is the light that allows people to find their way home when they are lost in the dark. There is the light of hope that dispels just enough despair to keep someone from hurting themselves. There is the light of compassion that takes away some of the loneliness when someone feels they are suffering all alone. There is the light of truth-telling. When this light shines, the rats who love the darkness, they either run or they fight. There is the light that is the lamp unto our feet. It shines on the path ahead of us so that we do not stumble and fall. There is the light of courage. Fear tries to put the light out, but we are determined to keep it burning bright. There is the light in our own window here at Shadow Rock. Specifically, it burns as long as we hold space for someone who is under the threat of deportation because we believe families should be together and human beings should not be deported to their deaths. More universally, it burns because we hold our core values of inclusion and justice and spirituality as guiding lights for our decisions and our way of being in the world. The lights of our lives hold the monsters back. When I was about 8 years old, I had a nightmare I dreamed I was in the house we were living in, and I was walking down the hallway of our home toward the last two bedrooms at the end of the hallway. My room was on the right, and my parents' room was on the left. I got to the end of the hallway, and I looked into my parents' room, and everything in the dream was exactly as it was in reality. There was the bed, there was the dresser, there was the chest of drawers, there was the mirror. I could look into my parents' room and see my reflection in the mirror on my mother's dresser. In the dream, when I looked into the mirror on my mother's dresser, I did not see the usual reflection of myself. Instead, I saw a monster. It jumped out of the mirror and it grabbed me. And in that moment, I woke up. And we'll let the psychologists among us analyze the dream of seeing a monster in my mother's mirror. And I'll be able to tell who you are when you start to avoid me. The dream affected me, and it made me afraid to walk down the hallway of my home. For a while, I could not walk down the hallway without turning on every light along the way. I'd turn on the hall light. I'd turn on the bathroom light. I turned on the spare bedroom light. I would get to my room and I would slowly reach into the room and around the corner to feel for the bedroom light switch and then turn on that light before I would walk into my own room. And one night, I decided that I would go with my brain instead of my fears. In the book Dune, the main character would recite the litany against fear. It goes like this: I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I did not read the novel Dune until many years later, but I was practicing the litany against fear without knowing it. I made myself walk down the hallway without turning on any lights. I stood at the end of the hallway and looked into the mirror on my mother's dresser without any lights. I walked into my dark room without turning on any lights. My fear did not go away, but I did it anyway. My fear went away only after I turned the light on. Light has a way of doing that for us. So there are many kinds of light, and we need all these different kinds of light to overcome all the different kinds of darkness. However, not only do we need light, and not only can we be grateful for the 1,000 points of light in our lives, but we can also be a light for each other. The story of the Buddha's last dying words are exactly this point of light. Before he dies, he looked into the frightened faces of the people around him and he said, "Make of yourself a light." Mary Oliver wrote a poem about this scene and the Buddha's final teaching. "Make of yourself a light," said the Buddha before he died. I think of this every morning as the east begins to tear off its many clouds of darkness, to send up the first signal, a white fan streaked with pink and violet and even green. An old man, he lay down between two sala trees, and he might have said anything, knowing it was his final hour. The light burns upward. It thickens and settles over the fields. Around him the villagers gathered and stretched forward to listen. Even before the sun itself hangs disattached in the blue air, I am touched everywhere by its ocean of yellow waves. No doubt, he thought of everything that had happened in his difficult life. And then I feel the sun itself as it blazes over the hills like a million flowers on fire. Clearly, I'm not needed. Yet, I feel myself turning into something of inexplicable value. Slowly, beneath the branches, he raised his head. He looked into the faces of that frightened crowd. Mary Oliver's poem ends where it begins. It ends with the death of a light in the life of the Buddhist community. But unlike the beginning, the end leaves out the words, "Make of yourself a light." The end of the poem, with its silence, begs you to fill in the words for yourself. Parker Palmer reminds us that no one can provide all the light we need, nor can any of us be all the light needed by another person. But every one of us can shed some kind of light for somebody. Every day, at the rising of the sun, we can ask ourselves, what kind of light can I provide today? Amen. Well, this is the time in our service when we lift up the celebrations of our lives. It can be a birthday, it can be an anniversary. It could be perhaps you were surprised by light or surprised by grace. If you have such a celebration, I invite you to stand. Let an usher come to you with a microphone so then we can all hear it and we can all share in it. So one of the things I want to lift up is the way that a friend of ours, a member of our own family, our congregation, is Herb. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Herb, you have been lighting a menorah at your home. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so one of the things about the menorah, if I remember correctly, is that you have the 8 candles, but the 9th candle is called the shamash.
The
Shamash. And that means the servant of light or the attendant of light. So that it's the candle you use to light all the others, because you're not supposed to use any of the other candles to light any of the others, only the servant of the light.
That's correct.
Okay. And so that image has intrigued me all week long. Celebrations is a time for you to be a light to each other. You are, how'd you say it? The candle?
The shamash.
The shamash. You are a Shamish. So if there are any Shamishes among us, please stand and let's share. Okay.
I'm Gene McWhorter, and I would like to celebrate Janet being back with the choir today.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Gina, and since we didn't celebrate celebrations for like the past 2 weeks, I wanted to celebrate 2 Sundays ago. My brother and I turned 18.
Amen. Happy birthday. Yes, Bert.
My youngest sister and her husband took their only grandchild a week and a half ago for a Christmas program. When they came out, it was raining and there was ice. She fell and had a concussion. She is having some additional problems, which they're trying to sort out now. And so I'm asking for prayers. Her name is Elaine. She's the baby of 8 kids in the family.
All right. Thank you, Bert, for letting us know so we can share that with you. Thank you. All right.
Hi, my name is Irene. After 10 years of fighting many medical issues, I'm surprised myself to tell you that I turned 76 today. And as my 94-year-old mother-in-law used to say, there by the grace of God, you got another day.
Amen. Happy birthday.
Hi, I'm Tammy Austin, and I wanted to celebrate my mom's life, Nancy, and her passing. Mom passed away on November 7th, and very difficult circumstances after a serious car accident. And, you know, in talking with Ken, who did my mom's services, one of the questions that he asked was, you know, was there grace? Were there moments of grace? And one of my deepest awarenesses was just what an intimate process being present for someone as they pass it is in our lives, and how it really changes you. And not only just the beauty that there is in giving the love to that person and the support, but even in terms of family relationships and the support of friends. You know, as I looked around and just saw so many people from every part of my life being present for me and there to hold me up, I realized just how natural and how beautiful the process is. So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay. Hubert.
Hi, hello, my name is Hubert, and what I want to celebrate was that last week I went to a meeting, and so for this year, for the last 2 years, I've been a counselor at camp for the UCC Southwest Conference. So this year we're doing the camp with the Disciples of Christ. So we went to a meeting, and I think it's going very well, so I want to definitely be grateful for that, because obviously it's a new camp, and they've managed to sort of preserve the tradition of the old camp. And the second two is not a celebration, but it's something that I intended to say the week of Thanksgiving, but we haven't done celebration for a while. So during Thanksgiving, like the 4 days of 2 things happened. First, on Thanksgiving itself was the 4th year anniversary of the death of Tamir Rice. If you don't know who that is, it was a child who was 12 in Cleveland, Ohio, who was playing with a plastic gun, and a police officer shot him. 12 years old. He would have been 16, and the person who shot him, of course, has suffered no punishment. And then on the Saturday of that was also the 6-year anniversary of the death of Jordan Davis, who died in Georgia because he was listening to music, and somebody just was like angry about this and shot him in the car with his friends. Now Jordan Davis, the person who shot him, is in prison and probably won't come out. And I think most people should know his mother, as she is Lucy McBath and is going to be Congresswoman in the state of Georgia. But the reason why I say this is, obviously this happens a while ago, but people still get shot all the time. And it just, like, I remember it really marking my life, and I would say that of many black people. These moments are just lived as absolute horror and shock, and I just don't think the names of these children should ever be forgiven. Jordan Davis should be about 20, Tamir should be 16 and getting his driver's license, and instead they're both dead. So I just would like for us to remember them and keep their families in our thoughts.
Thank you, Hubert, because we should not forget. Thank you for that. Sybil.
I'm Sybil Eppinger, and at this joyous, celebrative time of year, I regret that my announcement this morning is not a celebration as such, but my nephew, who is diabetic, lives in Ohio, 54 years old, just had an operation a week ago this past Friday to remove his second foot being amputated. So I would just like to ask for prayer from each of you for Kevin, his wife, Sherry, and the adjustments they're going to have to make in their life as she continues to work full-time and yet is Kevin's caregiver. So it's a special burden for Sherry. Thank you for your prayers. The Thanksgiving part of it is that he came through the surgery fine, and the second surgery a few days later to remove another 2 or 3 inches of the stump to make it the same length as his other leg, so that he does have a prosthesis for the first amputation, and he's being fitted for a second prosthesis, and but he's never been able to bear his weight fully on the first prosthesis. So we have no idea if he's going to be able to stand, even with the walker he has been using. So your prayers would very much be appreciated on a continuing basis. This is a long-term thing. Thanks.
Thank you, Sybil. Naomi.
Naomi Thorne. I had a wonderful time last night with friends who helped me celebrate my 71st birthday.
Happy birthday. Okay. Dr. Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Allison, but you knew that. And I'm back. And I've been away for a long time, and it's just so wonderful to be back at the place I love so much. And thank you for all of your thinking of you notes and your calls and visits, and it's just been a blessing to me. And through the help of Shadow Rock, through the help of the Lord, a really good therapist, and Margot Schaefer, my partner, I couldn't have gone through this without her, and which leads me to the second celebration, that we decided we'd been around together long enough. It's about time we became legal, and so we're planning to become wife and wife sometime in the next, yeah.
Do I get to do it?
Yeah. If you will. So.
We'll do it right now. No, we'll talk. Thank you. Congratulations. Wonderful. All right. Jim.
I'm Jim Gear, and as I look around, I don't think Barb made it over here. She's over in Smith Hall checking in gifts from the Angel Tree. So, but she wasn't going to escape. So she turned the big 7-0 on the 27th of November, and we haven't had celebrations since then. And so I'm celebrating the fact that she turned 7-0, and I know that's a shock to most of you because she doesn't look nearly as old as I do. But, and she isn't quite, but she is in the same decade now. And I also want to, I do want to ask you if, when you go over, if you would wish her a happy birthday. Every one of you, please go over and wish her a happy birthday. And she won't know where it came from.
Wonderful.
And I'm going to add that today, her brothers and sisters and their significant others are all getting together to continue with a dinner that her father started probably 8 or 10 years ago, where he got all the siblings and everyone together for a Christmas dinner. And so her brothers and sisters are continuing that, and we'll be celebrating that and he and their mother today.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm June Miner, and about a month and a half ago, my 3-year-old great-grandson had a leak in his appendix, and they did a surgery. Well, day before yesterday, they removed his appendix, and he's doing great.
We're glad. Okay. Herb?
We've got one more up here.
I was recently presented with this gift that says, "I prefer my puns intended." I have no idea why my board president, Liz Curry, thought that I should have this shirt. And you're probably all thinking that I'm going to respond with a pun. I am not going to respond with a pun. Certainly, I do not have a pun.
Okay. All right. Okay. As you can see, our celebrations take in a comprehensive view of life, and I'm going to get there. Okay. Take in a comprehensive view of life, and so when you share those things where people are struggling and you share those challenges, we are grateful for that so that we can share those struggles with you. So, yes.
Okay, I'll start off. I'm Joe Botticelli. I just wanted to thank Tony and Bill and the Boy Scout troop that meets here. Yesterday, we worked out for about 3 hours or so. There was a good dozen that came out and helped us for almost 3 hours and did a wonderful job of everything from moving rocks to moving branches, digging all the nice little seedlings and stuff that have been coming up in our rocks from the rains. So if you see any of the Boy Scouts especially, please thank them. They did a really wonderful job yesterday hustling around here. Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Good morning, everyone. Michael Curry. First of all, this really is more of a thank you rather than a celebration. Some of you know this. I've kind of have kept this on, I guess, the down low. Unfortunately, many of you know that I took a job at LifeWell Behavioral Wellness as a peer support specialist. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, while on the job, I had 2 major anxiety attacks. And unfortunately, because of those anxiety attacks, the job did not work out. The good news is it made me realize that I have not handled the trauma that I have endured over the course of my life. And so it made me realize that I need to get my own mental health in order before I can go out and officially help those who are suffering from mental health challenges themselves. Additionally, I was having a conversation yesterday with a colleague and minister friend of mine, and when I hear people say to me that I won't be a good candidate for ministry, or, you know, if I go into a church setting and, you know, something doesn't work out and I quit within the first couple of days, that doesn't make me a good fit for ministry. I think it makes me a perfect candidate for ministry, and I'll tell you why. Because I think we live in a society where people with mental health challenges are very much marginalized and pushed away, and their gifts that they bring, not only into the church but into the world, are very much undermined and underappreciated. And so for me to be in a position where I have a firsthand understanding and experience of mental health, why are we pushing people with mental health who struggle with mental health away from the church and the world rather than embracing and celebrating them? And so I look forward to continuing on this journey, not saying that it's ever easy, but I just, again, cannot thank this congregation enough for their support on Facebook, which has been a mainstream way for me to stay connected and to really be able to express myself wholeheartedly as a human being who very much struggles with, you know, anxiety, depression, the high functioning autism. So don't think that people don't understand because they don't want to take the time to really try to understand and walk in somebody else's shoes who may be going through some unknown things that they decide to keep hidden. Thank you.
All right, let's sing our celebration song. Okay. Oh, no.
It's right there.
It's right there. I'm so sorry.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk fast because we had a lot to celebrate. Last Sunday was the last class session for our fall, Our Whole Lives program. And so, yay! So facilitators are saying, yay, I get my Sunday nights back. Owl parents are saying, I don't have to worry about cooking dinner on Sunday for a whole group of kiddos. All of those good things. But I also wanted to say, we have this conversation in the staff meeting when we try to stick in something extra in the service that really doesn't match the rest of the service. We kind of have this, are we sure we want to do that? Are we sure we want to pause Advent for 2 minutes to talk about sex education? Do we really want to do that? And so I just wanted to share with you a real quick minute about what Advent and sexuality education have to do with each other. That both of those experiences, the experience of Advent and the experience of the way that we do our whole lives at Shadow Rock and at other UCC and UUA congregations, they're kind of a similar experience of taking the messages that we get from our culture and the media and the messages that we get from our faith community and being really intentional and mature and compassionate about the way those messages interact, the way that they contradict one another, and to make a really conscious choice as to which messages we're going to listen to. So the cultural message of Advent is like Santa, sparkles, shopping for the whole, like since Halloween, right, y'all? But the faith message of Advent is listening to the voices of the marginalized. It's centering the voices of shepherds and strangers and women. And so how those messages work together is an experience that we can have during Advent. In our whole lives, the messages that young people get about sexuality are both damaging and contradictory and confusing as heck for a lot of our young people. The messages that they get in the OWL classroom are right there in the bulletin. Self-worth, sexual health, responsibility, justice, and inclusivity. And so it's a time for them to be intentional, maybe for the first time, of contrasting those messages and deciding which ones they're going to listen to. So celebrating our Whole Lives facilitators today. I know there's at least 3 here. Me, Abbott, Liana. Is there a Michael or an Amy? Or a Matt? No. So these are wonderful people. We could not do 32 kiddos every Sunday night since September. We couldn't do it without those people. So thank your friendly neighborhood OWL facilitator today. Thanks.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh, and every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to
As an accepted, reconciled, and empowered people, let us give our offerings for the work of ministry in this place and beyond.
Before we do the dedication of ourselves and our offerings, I want to point out that we're singing Light 1,000 Lights. Many of you may remember that from a tradition, that part of Shadow Rock. And we're going to do our best to sing a little more up-tempo, and we'll see how that works. I invite you to stand if you're comfortably able and join me in the dedication of our offerings and ourselves. May we go forth in the certainty of faith, in the knowledge of love, and in the vision of hope.
May the world be blessed with the light of all good things on this day and forevermore.
These are the times.
We are the people.
All of creation is blessed.
May we love all and serve all.
May God be with you.
And also with you.
Amen.
Amen.
Now light 1,000 Christmas lights on dark earth here tonight. 1,000 also shine to make the dark sky bright. Oh, once when skies were starry